In today's video, I'm going to be sharing how to make a summer tote bag using the double crochet mesh stitch. This is a pretty easy pattern to make, especially if you're an experienced beginner, because it's made in one piece, starting at the base, working up the sides, and then creating the strap. To make a bag, I used 2 skeins of the Mercerized Cotton yarn, weight 4, with a 4.5mm hook. I would highly recommend that you use a cotton yarn, and especially a mercerized cotton yarn for this project, because it has the least amount of elasticity, which is ideal for the bags because we don't want a lot of stretch. I got mine at Hobby Lobby, but they are limited on the color choices, so if you want to use something more colorful, I would recommend that you try 24/7 cotton yarn by Lion brand. It's the same weight and requires the same hook size, so you should be good to go with that. They have some beautiful colors. I would consider this a medium-sized bag, but you can easily adapt the pattern to go bigger or smaller, and I do have some tips at the end of the tutorial on how to go about that. As always, there are timestamps along the progress line to help you skip to your point of interest, so let's get started. To begin, add a slip knot on your hook and chain 45. This pattern is worked in a multiple of 3 plus 1 and then 8 more at the very end. So to break this down, for this chain, I did a chain of 36, then I did 1, and then I did an additional 8 for my turning chain. The reason we're doing a whole chain 8 is because it's going to serve as your first corner for round 1. To begin round 1, work a double crochet into the 9th chain from the hook. Chain 2, skip 2 chains and work a double crochet into the 3rd chain. Chain 2, skip 2 chains and work a double crochet into the 3rd chain. We're just going to continue this all the way across. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the 3rd chain. When you reach the end, you should have 3 remaining chains. Add a double crochet into that very last chain. To make sure you're on track, you should see 13 squares. Now this is the beginning of our base, and we're going to be working 4 rounds in total to make our base. To begin round 2, we're going to be creating a corner. We're going to be making 2 corners on each end to make the base of our bag. So to begin, chain 8. Add a double crochet into the beginning of the chain 8, the area there where it's the top of the first double crochet from round 1. Chain 2, and double crochet into the base of the double crochet from round 1. Chain 5, and make a double crochet into the base of that first double from the first round. You've just made your second corner. Quick tip here to remember, your corner chains are always going to be a chain 5. Now we're back to a side, so we're going to be working the same sequence as before, just working along the other side of the chain. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the 3rd stitch. Since it's the double crochet from the previous round, I'm just going to refer to this stitch as the double from here on out. Continue this all the way across. So chain 2, skip 2, add a double crochet into the double. Continue this all the way across, and after you've completed a double crochet in that very final stitch available, we're going to get ready to form another corner. Chain 2 and add a double crochet into the 3rd chain. Chain 5, and work a double into the base of the double that you just made. Chain 2 and make a double crochet into the 3rd chain. Chain 5 for your corner, and double crochet into the base of the double you just made. You've just completed your side corner and you should see 3 squares for that side. Now chain 2 and double crochet into the 3rd stitch as normal and follow the sequence across. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double. When you come to the end, you'll have a chain 2 right before the chains from the beginning of the round. Add a slip stitch into the 3rd chain to complete the round. This has created the final double crochet of that round for you. Now at this point you should see 15 squares across, going 3 squares high. You'll notice that we are increasing by 2 for each round. To begin round 3, chain 5. This serves as your first double crochet and chain 2. And then double crochet into the 3rd chain. Chain 5 and double crochet into the base of the double you just made. Chain 2 and double into the top of the 3rd stitch, which is the top of the double from the previous round. Chain 2 and double crochet into the top of the double from the previous round. Chain 2 and double crochet into the 3rd chain. Now let's make our corner. Chain 5 and double crochet into the base of the double you just made. You're going to see 5 squares for your side. Now continue across with your regular sequence of chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double. We're coming to our next corner. After you add a double crochet into the last available double from the previous round, chain 2 and add a double crochet into the 3rd chain. Chain 5 and double crochet into the base of the double you just made. Chain 2 and double crochet into the top of that double below. Chain 2 and again double crochet into the top of the double below. Chain 2 and now double crochet into the 3rd chain on the corner. Chain 5 and work your double crochet into the base of the double you just made. Great, you should see 5 squares for your side. Now continue your sequence as normal to work the other side. Chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double. After your last chain 2, add a slip stitch into the 3rd chain to complete the round. This will give you 17 squares across and 5 squares high. Okay, we're on our final round for the base and we're doing the exact same thing that we did for round 3. Start with a chain 5 and then double crochet in the double below. Chain 2 and double crochet into the 3rd chain. Now it's time to make our first corner. Chain 2 and double crochet into the top of the double crochet. Continue with your sequence until you reach your next corner. At the corner, chain 2 and double crochet into the third chain. Chain 5 and double crochet into the base of the double you just made. At this point, you'll see 7 squares on the side. Continue your sequence as normal to get to your next corner. When you reach the end, slip stitch into the third chain to complete the round. Your base is complete. You should see 19 squares across and 7 squares high. At this point, I do recommend adding a stitch marker into the last round just to help you keep count and separate the sides from the base. To work your sides, it's super easy. We're going to be repeating that same sequence of chain 2, skip 2, double into a double, and we're not going to be doing any kind of increases. So to begin round 5, chain 5 and double crochet into the top of the first double available from the previous round. Chain 2 and double crochet into the top of the next double available. Now when you reach a corner, continue with the same sequence. Chain 2 but double crochet into the third chain to complete that corner. Chain 2 and continue along with the normal sequence. No increasing. When you reach a corner again, same thing. Add a double crochet into the chain 3 and continue on as normal. No increasing. This can feel a little tricky at first since we're working our corners, so take your time here and be sure not to work into the double crochet you just made. That's my biggest tip here. You don't want to accidentally add an increase into your corners because we were so used to doing that before. But this will get easier to see the more rounds that you do. And then once you reach the end and your last chain 2, slip stitch into the third chain to complete the round. And as you can see, this is just turning your corners up to start building your side. Now for round 6 and so on, you'll continue this same sequence. Chain 5 and work into the first double available from the previous round. Chain 2 and work into the top of the next double available, all the way around. And then slip stitch into the third chain to complete the round. For my bag, I worked 20 rounds for the sides, which gave me a total of 24 rounds when I included the base. You can play with this, you can add more rounds or reduce the rounds, it's completely up to you. Once you've created the body of your bag, it's time to make your strap. We'll be starting the strap where we finished our last round of the body. So fold your bag in half using the points of the base of your bag to help guide you. I also like to use the squares to help line the sides up evenly. We're going to be making the strap 14 squares wide, so count from the edge and count 7 squares inwards. We'll be doing a decrease for the next few rows, taking us from 14 squares down to 6. I do like to add stitch markers here just to help me easily keep count to start the strap. I'm going to refer to this as row 1 just to make it a little bit easier since we're focusing on the strap now. So to begin, chain 3 to serve as your first double crochet, and then double crochet into the top of the double from the previous round. You notice we didn't do a chain 2, that's because we're starting our decrease. But now continue across with your usual sequence of chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double. When you come to your last double crochet for that 14th square, we'll be making a decrease, so do not chain 2. Just work a double crochet into the top of the double from the previous stitch. You'll notice here we've reduced our 14 squares down to 12. For row 2, we're doing another decrease, so chain 3 and turn. Work a double crochet into the top of the next double from the previous row. Take care not to work into that first double, it's a little tricky to see. Continue on with your usual sequence, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double. And then when you reach the end and you've done your final double crochet, remember do not chain 2, just work a double crochet into the final double available. You've just gone from 12 squares to 10. For row 3, we're doing another decrease, chain 3 and turn. Work a double crochet into the top of the next double to form your decrease. Continue the regular sequence until you see your last available double crochet. Remember to omit that chain 2 and just work a double crochet into the top of the double from the previous row. You now have gone from 10 down to 8 squares. For row 4, we have one more decrease to go. Chain 3 and turn. Work your double crochet into the top of the double from the previous row. Continue with your regular sequence across until you reach the last available double from the previous row. Omit your chain 2 and just work a double into that stitch to make your decrease. You've reduced from 8 squares down to 6 full squares. Awesome, so the decrease is finished and now we're ready to do the main portion of our strap. And we're just going to be working 15 rows of the same sequence. We want to keep at 6 squares across. So to begin, create a chain of 5 to serve as your first double crochet and chain 2. Then double crochet into the top of the double from the previous row. Just work your sequence as normal across. Then when you reach the end, add a chain 2 and double into the last double as normal. You'll see 6 squares. Again, chain 5 and turn. Add a double crochet into the first available double from the previous row and continue across with the same sequence. Now when you reach the end, chain 2 and work a double crochet into the third chain to complete that row. You're just going to continue doing this row after row until you've made 15 rows. This is not including the decrease from earlier. Once you've completed your 15 rows of the main strap, it's time to increase our way back from 6 squares to 14. To begin, make a chain of 6 and turn. This is going to serve as a treble crochet and a chain 2. We're going to be using trebles for our increase. It just gives the height that we need to make it look nice. Now add a double crochet into the base of the chain you just made. This is your increased square. Now continue your sequence as normal across, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet into the double until you reach the other side. Now after you've completed your final double crochet into the chain 3, chain 2 and add a treble crochet into the same stitch. This is your second increase for this row. So you've taken your 6 squares and turned it into 8. We're going to repeat the same sequence again to do another increase. So chain 6 and turn. Double crochet into the same stitch and then continue on with your regular sequence. After your final double in that chain 3, do a chain 2 and add a treble crochet into the same stitch. You've just gone from 8 squares and increased it to 10. We're doing another increase, chain 6 and turn, double crochet into the same stitch, continue on with your regular sequence. After your final double crochet into the chain 3, chain 2 and add a treble into the same stitch. We've taken 10 squares and turned it into 12. And we're at our final row and our final increase. Repeat the exact same sequence that we did for the previous 3 rows to take your squares from 12 to 14. Excellent, your strap is done. Now we just need to attach it to the bag. Fasten off, leaving a long tail to sew your strap to your bag. I like to use about 3 lengths the width of the strap to make sure I have enough to sew. Fold your bag together to line up the base of your straps evenly. I like to use stitch markers here to guide me, as well as lining up those squares. I did a simple whip stitch to join. I just started in the very beginning double crochets and did a couple of wraps around, and then just continued on adding a stitch at every double crochet and chain in between. My biggest tip here is just really focus on those double crochets. As long as those are in alignment, everything else should be good to go. But there's nothing fancy here. You can use whatever kind of stitch that you like best. Once I come to the end, I like to do a few stitches in the same place and create a knot. But I would recommend before you go into that, I would add a couple of things to your bag so you can test out that strap and make sure that you like the length of it. It's a lot easier to unravel this before you go weaving in the end if you want to go longer or shorter. But yes, like I said, I like to add a couple of knots before I weave in the tail, and there you have it, a double crochet mesh bag. If you want to resize the bag, it's really easy to do. You just want to adjust that multiple of 3 to go bigger or smaller. And then you'll continue on with the chain count as normal. After you've done your multiple of 3, add your 1 and then the final 8. So for example, if you wanted to make a smaller bag, you would start with something like a chain of 27, then add another 1 after that, plus your 8 for your turning chain, giving you a total of 36. Now, if you want to modify the strap, just keep in mind the negative ease or that stretch. I say with this yarn, it probably stretches about 4 or 5 inches when you have stuff inside of your bag. So just keep that in mind. You can really have fun playing around with the strap. You can make it longer or shorter, but just always keep in mind that stretch factor. I hope you enjoyed the video. A thumbs up is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.